15 Golden Age stars who were secretly bald but wore wigs. What if the most indestructible thing about your favorite leading men wasn't the jawline or the stare, but a secret stitch to their scalp? In the studio era, image wasn't a miracle. It was maintenance. Hairlines were mapped like sets, combed to the camera, then sealed under lights no human scalp should endure. If you ever wondered why the part never drifted during a fistfight, or why a close-up felt smoother than memory, then you're already circling the secret. Tonight, we count down 15 legends who wore more than costume. Men whose hair was engineered, ventilated, knotted strand by strand, and lit to vanish. We'll show how the craft worked, how the myth held, and why no one talked. Lock your pick for number 1 now. Don't change it once the suitcase opens. Number 15, Peter Cushing, the gentleman who let the character decide. Cushing handled hair the way he handled props, precisely and without noise. In the Hammer years, a single inch on the hairline could turn him from scholar to surgeon. For the Hound of the Baskervilles or the Mummy, he could accept the natural recession and let worry sit on the brow. For a crisp professor or a stern doctor, he chose a marginally fuller piece with a fine lace front, the kind you can part on camera. He cared less about hiding and more about reading. Does this profile tell the story before the first line? He treated the whole enterprise like cufflinks, suitable for the character, invisible to the room. Ventilated knots allowed air to pass. The base matched his skin tone under Technicolor stock. If the shot wanted fatigue, the stylist encouraged a flyaway at the temple, on purpose. That's the quiet truth of studio-era hairwork. It wasn't vanity as much as story grammar. If the hairline shifts in tension, then a measured shift serves the plot. Number 14, Orson Welles, wigs as character armor. Welles was rarely secret about anything. He built people out of makeup, and hair was the scaffolding. Charles Foster Kane matures and calcifies. The hair stiffens in tandem. Hank Quinlan, in Touch of Evil, looks bloated with life's compromises. The hair contributes to the sag by refusing lift. Even when he didn't need coverage, he chose it for architecture. Height to dominate a frame, flatness to sink into a chair and smother the room. His pieces were theatrical in origin, but film-smart in construction. Heavier density in the crown for authority, broken density near the hairline to dodge that helmet look. He'd tip the front back a millimeter to create the illusion of temple hollows, then push the lighting ratio to favor the good side. With Welles, the wig itself became subtext, ego, decline, menace, whatever the role required. If acting is the art of showing without telling, then his hair pieces were the punctuation marks you felt but didn't read. Number 13, William Holden, receding into reinvention. Holden's face grew more interesting as the hairline retreated. By Sunset Boulevard, the boyish gloss was thinning into something wry and adult. You can see the temples ease back. The camera leans in anyway. Later, subtle augmentation helped him look continuous from picture to picture. Stalag 17, to the bridge on the River Kwai, to the Wild Bunch. The trick wasn't abundance, it was familiarity. Makeup chairs solved continuity with tiny choices. A shaded scalp under thin density, so the side light didn't betray skin glare. A slightly irregular front, so the edge didn't read as a straight line. Stylists favored lived-in parts, never shellacked perfection, because perfection shouts peace. If you felt the man changing roles rather than fighting time, that's because the coverage followed his age honestly. The audience accepts truth when craft behaves like good manners. Always there, never loud. Number 12, Burt Lancaster, acrobat with a safety net. Lancaster moved like a circus memory, fast, fearless, and vertical. For rope swings in The Crimson Pirate, or scuffles that rolled through sand and sea spray, attachment wasn't cosmetic. It was safety gear. Spirit gum at the front, stronger adhesive through the crown, a fine mesh base to breathe so sweat didn't pool and lift corners. Stunt rehearsals included a hat test, head down, head up, sprint, stop, to be sure the hairline didn't flutter. Designers understood his brand, athletic, outdoors, sun-cut. That meant wind-apparent styling, no glassy shell. They built the piece with directional ventilation, so a gust would move it like real growth, not a rug. If a star makes daring look easy, someone behind the mirror engineered easy. And if a flip, a lunge, and a grin reach the audience as one cohesive gesture, then glue and lace are silent partners in romance. Number 11. Cesar Romero, the wink you were meant to see. Romero never begged realism. The man glided through the 30s on charm and tailor-fit suits. The hair only needed to keep the outline elegant. By the TV 60s, he was the Joker with acid green height. More crown than cover, more gesture than camouflage. It fit him. His approach felt relaxed. Secure the base, shape the wave, let the camera enjoy the theatricality. Camp thrives on slightly exaggerated lines, and his hair rode that line to laughter. Off-set, he could be casual about adjustment. On-set, the silhouette stayed deliberate. If some stars asked stylists to erase every brushstroke, Romero let you see a hint of paint. The audience didn't mind. The audience liked being in on the trick. Number 10. Bob Hope, the unchanging profile. Hope's timing changed with decades. His profile didn't. That took a system. Duplicates kept in rotation, color-matched for different stocks, trimmed to the same exact front curve. So a medium shot in 1952 felt like a cousin of a medium shot in 1972. Television introduced a new villain, living room glare. Stylists countered with powder along the front edge and tiny comb-outs to break reflections. He worked stages large and windy, airfields, decks, parade grounds. The solution? Under-anchoring combined with hat choreography. Watch closely, and you'll see how he doffs the cap. Straight up slight roll, reseat with the hand angled to smooth the front. Not a flourish, a maintenance move. The permanence of Bob Hope wasn't accident. It was rehearsal applied to hair. An unchanging silhouette lets the viewer relax into the joke. Consistency is kindness in comedy. Number 9. Robert Taylor, MGM's perfect geometry. Taylor's hairline was a studio sculpture. In Camille and Waterloo Bridge, it frames sweetness. In post-war roles, it leans more masculine, less precise, more weather in the part. That shift was deliberate. The base remained fine, the density eased at the temples, and the sideburn length adjusted to the era's ideal. His stylists treated hair like continuity of brand. Contracts required consultation before any change, and the hair department tracked photographs the way wardrobe tracked swatches. They kept a hero piece for close-ups and a twin for wide days when heat and time were crueler. You weren't meant to notice. You were meant to believe in the man who walks into a room and steadies it. If a perfect line adds 2 points of confidence, then the studio gladly paid for the math. Number 8. Spencer Tracy, natural acting, managed hair. Tracy's magic was the sensation that nothing on screen was arranged, yet everything was exact. His hair followed that creed. Early on, audiences saw the honest recession of a working man. Later, coverage crept in so gently you felt continuity, not makeup. Makeup heads favored intermediate density, enough to remove camera glare, not enough to look sculpted. Lighting did half the work. Key light set to a soft angle. Fill lifted just enough to blur lace shadows. Backlight dialed down, so no halo caught an edge. He disliked fuss, so the plan had to be robust. A piece that survived a long day without receipts stealing minutes. When the craft behaves like furniture, useful, quiet, always there, the actor can simply be. Quick poll. Tap to vote. Who fooled you longest so far? Tracy, Taylor, or Hope? If you're listening hands-free, say it now and drop it in the comments at the next pause. Number 7. James Stewart, the everyman's backup plan. Stewart rarely hid time. He arranged it. In the 40s, he let the temples worry back and made worry a virtue. The man who filibustered Congress and lassoed the moon didn't need perfect hair. He needed believable hair. As lenses got sharper and close-ups, honest to pores, the team added a net-thin front with low density. Think Sunday haircut, not studio helmet. The barbershop realism helped the audience accept later roles. Rear Window, Vertigo, The Man Who Knew Too Much, where credibility is oxygen. Small styling tells did heavy lifting, parts slightly imperfect, crown with a lived-in swirl, side-swept wisps that catch a breeze. These are not mistakes. They're engineering. If viewers sense modesty in the grooming, they unconsciously trust the character. Trust buys you minutes. Minutes buy you endings. Number 6. Bing Crosby, When the Hat Comes Off. Crosby's hat was practically a co-star, but hair had to carry long stretches without it. Holiday specials, color TV close-ups, last verses lit like a fireplace. His relationship to enhancement was functional. In rooms that demanded a myth, network studios, big stages, he wore the myth. In private settings, he let comfort win. Color made new chores. Gray reads differently under warm gels. The team toned the piece to avoid that bluish cast that betrays a base on camera. They also broke the front with micro irregularities, so the hairline looked like a man who took his hat off 5 minutes ago, not a display. You felt at home because the picture felt at home. That's the target with crooners. Make the viewer comfortable enough to remember their own past while you sing them through yours. Number 5. Sean Connery, Bond's most underrated gadget. By his mid-20s, Connery's hair was already thinning. By Dr. No, the solution was mission critical. Pieces were reinforced to survive surf, stunts, and those tight 1960s close-ups where the part gleams like a runway. Stylists balanced toughness with elegance. Not too high at the front, no sudden corners at the temple, enough density to look effortless under key and backlight at once. The interesting turn comes later. When he let the crown breathe and the temples show, his magnetism didn't fade, it clarified. The audience discovered his presence wasn't attached to a hairline. He'd worn a tool. He could put it down. That evolution looked bold in a business that prizes youthful silhouettes. If the icon remains iconic after taking off the armor, then the armor was never the point. Number 4, Frank Sinatra. Old blue eyes, new rules. Mid-50s. Frank rebuilt from the shoes up. Band arrangements tighter, suits slimmer, jaw tenser. Hair joined the renovation. For stage, he liked a crisp silhouette that didn't wilt under sweat or spotlights. For film, he wanted a lower sheen, less density at the very front, so the lens didn't catch a line. There were pieces for travel, pieces for magazine shoots, and a meticulous prep routine that slotted between vocal warm-ups and cufflink decisions. Friends teased, he controlled the bit. The best version of a public secret is one the star can joke about, on his terms. He could remove, reset, and walk back under the light without the myth flickering. 55 plus aside, if you watched him on a 19-inch with rabbit ears, drop the channel number and city, those specifics make the comments sing. Somewhere out there is another living room that looked just like yours. Number 3, Fred Astaire. The piece that could dance. For Astaire, the hairline was choreography. The silk-based construction breathed under lamps. The lace front vanished in a two-shot, but held during a whip pan. Adhesive along the front, lighter tack farther back, so the scalp could sweat through a 6-minute take. In top hat and swing time, the part never budges during turns. In Royal Wedding, he dances around the room and onto the wall. Physics is the show, security is the secret. He traveled with twins, identical pieces dressed for the day's routine. Dressers knew the tilt of his hat wasn't fashion, it was alignment, so a brim never dragged across the front and teased the lace. When the camera closes, the hairline should look like it was born for elegance. Astaire's did. It was an instrument, tuned with the same seriousness as the band. Number 2, John Wayne. It's real hair, just not mine. Wayne's outline is American shorthand. Hat, jaw, stride. The hair's job was to keep the outline honest. Westerns punish vanity. Sweat pours, dust lifts, wind tests every edge. His team built durability into the routine. Adhesive lines reinforced at the temples, scalp mat to kill shine, a bandana under the hat crown to reduce friction, and a reseat plan for lunch that never cost the schedule a minute. The style leaned rugged on purpose. Slight roughness, sun suggesting lift, never city polished. He didn't mystify the gear. In private settings, he could treat it like a glove. Off when not required, on when the day started. That healthy practicality is why the silhouette stayed trustworthy for decades. If the frame looks the same every time he steps into a doorway, you believe the doorway leads to the west. Number 1. Humphrey Bogart, the trench coat and the suitcase of hair. Bogart's cool depended on 1,000 controlled details. Collar height, tie looseness, cigarette angle, and yes, a hairline that never flinched in a hard light. The solution wasn't one piece, it was a traveling kit. Different densities for different lenses, finishes matched to the stock. and absolute rules about water, flash, and poolside proximity. Photographers learned not to hunt the crown. Publicists learned to kill the frame that did. Cinematographers adjusted too. Key from the side, not dead on. Fill just enough to blur any step in the front. A backlight placed high, so no glow kissed the edge. Bogart cooperated like a pro, hit the mark, angle the head, leave the rest to the lamp and the lace. In return, the audience got an icon who always looked like himself. The tough guy's secret wasn't weakness, it was discipline. Why they hid it so well? 3 invisible departments kept the illusion airtight. Craft. Bases matched to skin, lace so fine it disappears. Ventilation patterns that mimic real growth. Density charts by region, front, temple, crown. To avoid the dreaded one-weight helmet. Adhesives varied by task. Spirit gum for fronts, stronger compounds for stunts, tapes for quick resets. Camera. Light kills or reveals. Crews learned to float the key, drop the backlight, and lift fill until the hairline read soft, not sharp. Angles mattered. A quarter turn hides a join better than any product. Even stock choice played a role. Some emulsions are less cruel to edges. Culture. Contracts with appearance maintenance clauses. Publicists who understood that a handsome myth is a business asset. Photo editors who preferred the usable picture over the gotcha that breaks a star. The machine protected faces because faces sold tickets. If the image keeps the studio alive, then the studio feeds the image. Why it mattered to them? A hairline isn't character, but it can be character's frame. For some men, the piece meant employability after 38. For others, it meant continuity. The person you met in one film still greets you in the next. There's dignity in control, especially in a job that magnifies every inch. Many treated hair like wardrobe. Put on the roll, do the work, hang it carefully. There's also relief in limits. Some, Connery later, Crosby in private rooms, set the armor down when the moment didn't require an audience. That boundary kept the person sane and the performance clean. If the camera asks for miracles, let the tiny ones come from a hairline, so the big ones can come from the eyes. After number 8 you voted, Tracy, Taylor, or Hope. Scroll up and lock yours if you missed it. We'll read the results in the first pinned comment. Now your scene spot. Name the exact movie and moment where a hairline first made you suspicious. Was it a glare on Rear Window? A gust in The Searchers? Or a too perfect part in a Bond close-up? The more precise, the better. And if you watched on a tabletop set with rabbit ears, tell us the city and channel. Trust me, someone in the comments grew up 2 streets over. The studio age sold something bigger than truth. It sold coherence. The smallest deception, a lace edge, a shaded temple, protected the bigger sincerity of performance. You didn't buy hair. You bought presence that didn't flicker between frames. If the line on the forehead shifts, but the line delivery doesn't, memory keeps the delivery. That's why these stories feel less like gotchas and more like blueprints. The care was everywhere, hidden in adhesives and comb angles, so your focus could stay on a hat brim, tipping, a dancer floating, a cowboy filling a doorway, a detective choosing silence over speech. If the hair helped the myth stand up straight, then the myth paid the hair back with immortality. Your turn. Which reveal changed how you'll watch these films tonight? And who belongs in a part 2? Edward G. Robinson, Charlton Heston, Errol Flynn? If you felt like you saw a best list today, hit like, subscribe, and use hype to push this one upward. Then lock your number 1 most convincing hairline of the golden age in the comments. We'll meet you there.